Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it's day one of our November 2025 release. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's brand new Gnome Friends Mousse dies. They're Gnome Dies Winter add-ons, they're Border Dies too, they're Stitched Arch dies, and their I Mousse You stamp set. And I did put this guy together on the assembly video, so check that out. And I'm using the Winter Wonderland 6-inch pad from Doodlebug, the Winter Wonderland odds and ends as well. So first I start with a paper tray ink craft card base, A2 size, so 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches. I'm going to add a 4 by 5.25 inch piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock to the inside. I like to do that. I think it makes it look more finished when you're using a colored card base. Next, I'm going to add a 1-inch strip of paper from Doodlebug's Winter Wonderland. It has mousse kind of across it, which is fun. There we go. That's kind of one of those border pieces. And I kind of intentionally cut out the mousse there. Now, I'm going to add these mountains in as well. I'm going to make a scene on the inside. I kind of like to match what I have going on the outside to the inside. So I'm going to add these mountains kind of hanging off the side. And then I've got a mousse, which isn't that perfect, right? I'm going to add mousse to the inside here with some Barely Art glue using my reverse tweezers. Now all my die cutting today was done with my Anna Griffin Empress machine, working on a Stampin' Up! Pad, Barely Art glue, ATG tape, all the things. Now next I'm going to add in 3 of these snowflakes because these are always kind of part of odds and ends, always have some small pieces. So that's what I'm going to add. And then I'm going to add a little bird on his little rack up there, right, on his antlers. And I will trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. And there's my little scene. I've got enough room to still write write something to the recipient. Now I'm going to add in a piece of paper. This is cut at 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card front. So 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. There we go. And I'm just going to line that up, trying to add and keep an even border. And then this is going to be my little nest area for my image. So this is a stitched arch die. And cut, pattern paper is all from that same Doodlebug Winter Wonderland 6-inch pad. Now this piece is paper tray ink white cardstock that I cut with Jaded Blossom's Border Dies too. And then I trimmed it to fit in so it's basically 4 1/8 inches wide. So it fits in, in that little frame piece. There we go. And I just like the look of that. So now I have snow and everything. So next I'm going to assemble my little sled. This was cut from G-Mint Tyndalo cardstock. It's kind of like a wood grain cardstock. And then the pattern paper is from that same 6-inch pad from Doodlebug. And then next I'm adding American Crafts silver cardstock for the bottom of the sled. There we go. And I will weight it down with an acrylic block. Next, I'm going to give this mousse some earmuffs, but I didn't like where they ended up on his face. So I'm just going to do some selective trimming to make it work. So I'm just going to cut it, and then I'm just going to refit just so it's the right width to fit his head, right? So you can always make things work if you don't like how it fits on one of their heads, and that's what I'm going to do. So that is cut from pattern paper from that same Doodlebug pad. Isn't that cute? That little mousse was cut out of all American Crafts cardstock, basically. And Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock for the little antlers. So there he is. So I'm giving him his little earmuffs. And then I'm going to change the pattern on the actual muff part. There we go. Isn't that sweet? Look how cute he is. He's Kind of got like the derpy look with the way those eyes are. It's funny. The scarf is cut out of pattern paper from that same paper line. And I am going to add that in. So the way I added the beige to this mousse, it kind of makes him look like he's got a sweater on, right? Which is kind of fun. So next I'm going to slip in his little neck scarf. And there we go. And isn't he sweet? I actually had his legs mixed up so the fur was sticking out like on the outsides of his legs instead of on the inside, but it kind of adds to the sweater look. Okay, so next I'm pulling out the I'm Mousse You stamp set from Jaded Blossom, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment Mousse Kisses once I figure out where everything's going to go. So I'm just going to, try and get that straight and stamp it right about there with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I'm going to stamp that as well. There we go. And on the inside, I'm going to stamp a sentiment from Gnome Peking, and it says Happy Holidays. And I'm going to nestle that in with the mousse. And there we go, Happy Holidays. I do stamp it twice just to make sure I get a nice image. And there we go. And now I will assemble this super cute card, right? So I am pulling out some score tape here, and I'm just going to attach this sled to my mousse just to make it easier for myself so I can attach it as a one unit, right? So I'm just going to attach them both, and then I can attach them as a unit. I just find that's easier. And I'm going to glue this guy down using Barely Art glue. There we go. And I am kind of liberal with it. I want them to be able to stick down well. Don't want any issues. So there is my mousse on my card. And isn't that cute? I just think he's adorable. And like I always say, if you get stuck, remember that the Gnome Friends Mousse Die Assembly video is there for you to answer any questions. I'm just taking that little piece of paper with some glue, and I'm just going to add that behind the antlers. And I'm just going to use my little reverse tweezers to hold them down to make sure they glue flat. Anything that's not sticking down well, there we go. Next, I'm pulling out shape sprinkles. These are called Winter Wonderland from Doodlebug. They're just little snowflakes. And I'm going to add a few of these to my background. There we go. And just for fun. And then I'm actually going to use one to cover up the part of that part that holds my earmuffs that I had to trim in half. I'm going to add one there just to hide my little cut mark. There, I'm going to hide my little cut mark there, but I want to choose the right color to kind of go with what I've got going on. There we go. And I'm just counting to make sure I have the right number because, I'm a little bit crazy about stuff like that. Odd numbers, visual triangles, and all that jazz. And there we go. So thank you actually I was going to say thank you, but I'm moving too fast. So I'm taking my black glaze pen from Sakura and I'm going to color in his little eyes and the little eye on the bird. And then I'm pulling up my Sakura white jelly roll pen and a number 10. And I'm going to add some freckles because I can. And I'll add something to the top of the wing. And some highlights on the hooves. And there we go. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team. The Jaded Blossom store to get your hands on these adorable products. And thanks as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Come back again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.